Assalamu alaikum. Today on Nuran Academy, we're talking about the ethics of influence, inspired by the traditions of the Islamic Golden Era. If you benefit from our work, please support us by subscribing and sharing as a sadaqah. So let's dive into a story from a time when knowledge was seen as something truly special, an amana, a sacred trust. It was meant to be protected and shared with total integrity. And you have to understand, this wasn't just about information on a page. It was about power, real power. And that, of course, raises a huge question. How do you handle that kind of power responsibly? Now, that kind of power, it can corrupt, for sure, but it can also be protected. And that responsibility, well, that's right where our story starts. We're going to follow a young publisher named Zayd, and his journey, it really shows us something profound, that the foundation of any truly great work isn't about what you have, your resources, it's about the purity of your intention. So, Zayd, he started with practically nothing. In terms of material things. He didn't inherit a fortune, he didn't have any powerful friends in high places. All he had were the basic tools of his trade, and, this is the most important part, this one single powerful belief that would shape everything he was about to do.
And this was it. This was his core mission, his North Star. He just got it. He understood that as soon as knowledge gets locked away or controlled by a select few, it's not a tool for enlightenment anymore. It actually becomes a weapon used to oppress people, to hold on to power, and to keep others out. This single idea was the very bedrock of his entire business.
Okay, but it's one thing to have a noble principle, right? It's a whole other thing to actually stick to it when things get tough. And with that firm intention of his, Zayd was about to face his first real test. And this was a big one, a test that was going to put the promise of profit right up against his integrity. So just picture this scenario. These really influential buyers, they come to him, and they're asking for books with, let's call them convenient omissions. Can you just remove this section so it doesn't upset so-and-so? The choice was pretty stark, right? Make more money, get comfortable with the powerful people, or sell less and protect the truth. But for Zayd, it wasn't really a choice at all.
And right here, we see a really crucial principle in action. See, ambition itself isn't a bad thing. But the way you chase that ambition, it has to have boundaries, ethical lines you won't cross. When you're faced with that choice, material gain versus holding on to the truth, a believer knows that sometimes a financial loss is actually a huge win for your soul. This commitment he had, it wasn't just about what he refused to do. It was also about what he actively chose to do. He went and created this amazing business model, one that was built completely on fairness. This pricing system he came up with, it wasn't just some clever marketing trick. It was his mission in action, making sure knowledge could get to the people who needed it most.
So what happened? What was the result of him taking these principled stands time and again? Well, slowly but surely, he built something that was worth way more than quick cash. He built an unshakable reputation. That phrase, if Zayd publishes it, it is reliable. That became his stamp of approval. It was his best marketing, and honestly, his greatest asset. But look, a strong reputation, that brings its own set of challenges, doesn't it? As his business started to grow, so did the opportunities that came his way. And you guessed it, every single one of them came with a brand new test of his principles. But this time, the stakes were much, much higher. And then came the ultimate test. It showed up in the form of a wealthy sponsor. The offer? Wow. It was tempting. We're talking about the resources to expand his reach, make way more profit. But the price tag was steep. He would have to give up control over his content, give up his independence. And once again, Zayd said no. He just knew that growth without independence isn't really growth at all. It's submission. So he walked away from the easy money. He chose the slower path, the harder path, the one that let him keep his mission right where it belonged, in his own hands. So instead of taking money from outsiders, what did he do? He invested in people. He built this incredible, self-sustaining ecosystem. He trained apprentices, he made sure the quality was top-notch, he shared the profits fairly with his team, and he reinvested right back into the community. He wasn't just building a business at this point, he was building an institution. And this right here, this shows us a core idea of what ethical leadership is all about. Zayd wasn't trying to hoard power for himself or control a bunch of people. No, he scaled the system itself, the methods for being accurate, for being fair, for mastering the craft.
And what that did was empower others, and it made sure that the work, the real work, could continue with integrity long after he was gone. Which brings us to how we really measure his success. Because his legacy, it wasn't about fame, it wasn't about money. It was about the lasting impact of his work and the incredible amount of trust that he so carefully built up over the years. Look, Zayd never became a household name. He wasn't famous. But for generations, the people who really mattered, the scholars, the students, the people truly seeking knowledge, they knew his name. And to them, his name meant reliable. His work lasted because it was built on a foundation of truth. And that really gets to the heart of it all, doesn't it? Zayd's real product was never the book itself, the ink and paper. His final product was trust. And in our tradition, the greatest kind of enterprise isn't just about selling a product. It's about serving the community by protecting something sacred.
So this whole story leaves us with a timeless question, really. It's like a mirror for our own lives, for our own work. Because in our own little spheres of influence, whether they're big or small, we're all going to face that same choice. Are we going to be guardians of the truth, or are we going to trade it away for a little comfort and convenience?
Presented and created by Norin Studio.